On October 17, 1902, detectives in Paris came to a terrible scene. Joseph Reibel had been killed at his workplace. With no eyewitnesses, the officers did not have much to go on until they found a piece of broken glass with several bloody fingerprints. An investigator carefully searched the police station's fingerprint records and finally found a match. Henry Scheffer, who had been arrested for theft the year before, was taken in and later confessed to the murder. This was the first time in Europe that investigators solved a crime using fingerprints alone. More than a century later, fingerprints are still one of the most common types of evidence in criminal courts. But how reliable are they? Humans, like other animals that climb, are born with patterns of raised ridges and sunken furrows, not only on their fingers, but also on their hands and feet. These friction ridges help give us a stronger grip, especially on wet surfaces, and make our sense of touch sharper. They start to develop in the womb at about 7 weeks, when the skin on the hands and feet swells to form smooth, raised pads. At around 10 weeks, deeper layers begin to grow faster than the upper layers, causing the pads to bend and fold. This folding is guided by genetics and environmental factors and continues over the next several months. Scientists still do not fully understand the exact environmental factors involved, but it is their randomness that leads to unique fingerprint patterns forming. In fact, many experts believe it is very unlikely that any two fingerprints, past or present, are exactly the same. They are even different in identical twins. People have probably known about the unique nature of fingerprints for centuries, but it was not until the late 1800s that scientists started studying and classifying their different features. By the early 1900s, prosecutors began using fingerprints in courts, forever changing how detectives approach and study crime scenes. Today, investigators often begin by looking for visible prints. These include patent prints left by substances that can transfer like blood or dirt, and plastic prints, which are impressions in soft, shapeable materials like caulk, wax, or even a newly painted fence. However, most fingerprints cannot be seen with the naked eye. These are called latent prints, and they are made of the water, oils, proteins, and salts that ridge patterns leave on surfaces. They can be shown by dusting with a fine powder, which sticks to the trail of water and oil. If surfaces are porous or hard to dust, investigators use chemical developers like ninhydrin, which reacts with proteins left by fingers. Forensic scientists continue to create more sensitive and surface-specific tools. For example, one experimental technique uses an electrical charge to capture the corrosion that fingerprint salts leave on metals, even if they have been wiped clean. Once investigators have collected prints, they get to work matching them with possible suspects. In some cases, investigators use automated computer systems that can narrow down possible matches found in national fingerprint databases. Certified. Experts then compare small fingerprint details, such as how the ridges branch and cross, and the spacing of oil pores. Any result must be blindly checked by a second expert before the information is handed over to justice departments. The fact that fingerprint patterns are unique to every person makes them especially strong evidence in criminal cases. However, the system is not perfect. Prints are often smudged, distorted, or overlapped with other prints, which can make matching more difficult. And it is open to human error. One 2011 study found that fingerprint experts wrongly identified 2 different fingerprints as a match 0.1% of the time. While this may seem low, the stakes are high for a defendant who is wrongly accused. Also, there is no universal standard for the number of ridge details experts must study to make a match. Many investigators stress that no conviction should be made from fingerprint evidence alone. For these reasons, forensic experts continue to work to improve and standardize the fingerprinting process. After all, when it comes to investigating crime, Fingerprints have certainly left their mark.